Claire Whitmore never expected her life to change in a grocery store. She was 27, beautiful in a way that made strangers pause, but no one ever truly saw her. Not the real her. Behind the designer clothes, beyond the wealth, past the expectations of being Elena Whitmore's daughter, one of the most powerful women in the city. That afternoon, she walked through the aisles quietly. Not for groceries, but for peace. The world always watched her, judged her, expected her to be perfect. So when dizziness hit, she didn't cry out. She simply fell, and someone caught her, a man with steady hands and kind eyes. He knelt beside her as she came to. "You okay?" he asked gently. Claire blinked up at him, disoriented, confused. "I think so," she whispered. He held out a bottle of water. "Take slow sips," he said. "You might have fainted from low sugar." Claire obeyed, still trying to focus. Then she looked up again, this time really seeing him. He wasn't dressed like the men in her world. No suit, no power, just worn jeans and a soft voice that somehow calmed her heart. She reached for his hand. "Thank you," she murmured. "I don't even know your name." He gave a small smile. "Daniel Harper." Claire studied his face, then whispered, "I'm Claire." Daniel nodded. "I know who you are now." Claire raised an eyebrow. "How?" Daniel chuckled softly. "Your picture's on the front page of every business magazine," he said. "But before that, I just saw a woman who needed help." Claire felt something shift inside her. Because for once, someone didn't see money. They saw her, and that changed everything. Claire sat on the bench outside the grocery store, still catching her breath. Daniel stayed beside her, not hovering, not pushing, just present. He watched her carefully. "You sure you're okay?" he asked again. Claire gave a small nod. "I think so," she said. "I haven't eaten much today." Daniel raised an eyebrow. "That explains it." He reached into his bag and pulled out a granola bar. "Here," he said gently. "It's not much, but it'll help." Claire took it with a quiet smile. "You didn't have to do this," she whispered. Daniel studied her face. "I know," he said, "but I wanted to." Claire looked down at the wrapper in her hands. Then she asked, "Why?" Daniel tilted his head. "Because you looked like someone who needed kindness." Claire blinked back sudden tears. She had heard many things in her life. Flattery, expectations, pressure, but never that. And somehow, it meant everything. Back home, Claire couldn't stop thinking about him. She lay in bed, staring at the ceiling. Her phone buzzed. A message from Maggie, her best friend. "You fainted? Are you okay?" Claire typed slowly. "I'm fine. A man helped me." Maggie replied instantly. "Who?" Claire hesitated, then sent, "Daniel Harper." Minutes later, Maggie called. Claire answered softly. "What?" Maggie's voice was full of concern. "Are you serious?" she asked. "You let a stranger help you?" Claire frowned slightly. "He wasn't a stranger for long," she admitted. Maggie sighed. "Claire, people are going to talk. You're Elena Whitmore's daughter. They're going to think he used you." Claire swallowed hard. "He didn't," she whispered. "He just saw me." There was silence. Then Maggie whispered, "Be careful." Claire nodded, even though Maggie couldn't see her. "I will." But deep inside, she knew. This wasn't about danger. This was about something else. Something she hadn't felt in years. Connection. The kind that came without power. Without money. Just truth. The next day, Claire returned to the store. She told herself it was for groceries. But really, she was looking for Daniel. She found him behind the counter of the small mechanic shop next door. He looked up, surprised to see her. "You're back." Claire gave a small smile. "I wanted to say thank you properly." Daniel chuckled. "You already did." Claire met his eyes. "No," she whispered. "I mean, for seeing me when no one else does." Daniel studied her. Then he said, "You look tired, like you carry more than just bags." Claire let out a shaky breath. "I do," she admitted. "My whole life feels heavy." Daniel nodded slowly. I get that, he said. Sometimes the world gives you too much and takes away what matters. Claire bit her lip. Do you ever feel like you don't belong anywhere? Daniel gave a small, knowing smile. All the time, he admitted. But I keep going anyway. Claire smiled faintly. Me too. And somehow saying it aloud made it feel real. Because now there was someone who understood. Even if they came from different worlds. Claire started visiting more often. Not just the store, but the mechanic shop next door, where Daniel worked quietly, fixing cars with steady hands and a calm voice. He noticed her presence but didn't question it. Instead, he greeted her like she belonged. Hey, he said one afternoon, wiping his hands on a rag. You here for groceries again? Claire gave a small smile. Actually, she admitted, I came to see you. Daniel raised an eyebrow, surprised but not unkindly. I'm not that interesting, he teased gently. Claire stepped inside the shop. But you are, she said. You caught me when I was falling. And now, she hesitated. I feel like I'm still catching my breath. Daniel studied her carefully. Then he leaned against the counter. What's really going on? He asked. You don't look like someone who faints from hunger. You look like someone carrying something heavier. Claire blinked back tears. You're right, she whispered. I carry expectations. A life I didn't choose. And a mother who sees me only in headlines. Daniel stayed quiet, listening. Claire continued, voice barely above a whisper. She wants me to marry someone powerful, she said. To take over her company. To be her legacy. But I just want to be me. Daniel met her eyes. That's not easy, he said. For anyone. But especially not when the world already decided who you should be. Claire let out a shaky breath. And what if I'm tired of pretending? Daniel gave a small, warm smile. Then stop, he said simply. No one here knows your name. They only know your face. And if you want, they'll see you for who you really are. Claire looked at him, truly looked. Then she whispered, You already do. Daniel nodded. I think I always did. And somehow that changed everything. Because now, Claire wasn't just passing through. She was staying. Even if only for moments. Even if only to breathe. Because Daniel made her feel like she could. Like she was allowed. Like she mattered even without power. Even without money. Just as herself. Daniel didn't know who Claire really was. Not at first. He knew she was kind. That she smiled with her eyes. That she carried something quiet in her chest. But he didn't know the full truth until Luna, his 6-year-old daughter, pointed her out in a magazine. They were sitting at the kitchen table eating cereal after school. Luna flipped through an old business paper, one she found beside his tools. Then she looked up. Dad, she said gently. She's that lady from the store. Daniel frowned. What lady? Luna held up the magazine, and there she was, Claire Whitmore, smiling in a sleek black dress. Her name printed boldly across the top. Whitmore era steps into the spotlight again. Daniel stared at the page, then at his daughter, and suddenly everything made sense. The way people watched her, how she never asked for anything, how she had looked at him like she wasn't used to being seen, because maybe she wasn't. Daniel didn't call her that night. He wanted to, but he couldn't stop thinking about the magazine, about the world she came from, about how different their lives were not just in wealth but in expectation. He had nothing to offer her. No mansion, no power, just a small garage, a modest home, a daughter who needed him more than anything else. And yet, she kept coming back. Not for charity, not for pity, for him. The next day, Claire arrived at the store again. This time, Daniel was waiting. He stood outside the mechanic shop, watching as she walked toward him. She gave a small smile. You okay? She asked. Daniel hesitated. Then he said, I saw you. Claire blinked. What do you mean? Daniel held up the magazine. Claire's heart skipped a beat. She looked down at it, then back at him. I'm sorry, she whispered. I didn't hide it. I just... Never thought it mattered. Daniel studied her face. It doesn't, he admitted. But I don't want to be someone who only matters because of your name. Claire stepped closer. You matter because of who you are, she said gently. And what you give me. Daniel swallowed hard. Which is what? Claire met his eyes. Peace, she whispered. A life that feels real. You see me without seeing my mother's shadow. Daniel let out a slow breath. Then he asked, what happens when your world finds out? Claire tilted her head. Then they'll know the truth. Daniel frowned slightly. That we're from different lives. Claire reached for his hand. That I found something real in yours. Daniel closed his eyes briefly. Then he whispered, Claire, I can't give you what you're used to. Claire squeezed his fingers. I don't want what I'm used to, she said. I want this. The quiet moments. The way you look at me like I'm just me. That means more than anything. Daniel looked at her, truly looked, and somehow he believed her, because even now, even knowing who she was, he still felt drawn to her, not for what she could give, but for what she made him feel. Like maybe, just maybe, love wasn't about status. It was about connection. And hers? Deeper than he ever expected. Claire didn't wait for Daniel to push her away. She knew what he was thinking, that she belonged to a world too far from his. But she also knew something deeper. He mattered more than any life she had lived before. That night, she sat with her mother at dinner, quiet, distracted. Elena noticed immediately. You're different, she said. Since when do you skip charity events for grocery runs? Claire blinked. I just needed air. Elena studied her carefully. Then she asked, Is there someone? Claire hesitated, then whispered, There is. Elena raised an eyebrow. A man? Claire nodded. Elena leaned forward. Who is he? She asked. Claire took a deep breath. His name is Daniel Harper, she said. He's not from our world. He's not rich. He's not powerful. But he sees me. Elena's expression hardened. You don't even know what real life is, she muttered. And now you're chasing some mechanic? Claire met her eyes. He's not just a mechanic, she said firmly. He's a father, a kind man, the first one who made me feel like I belong somewhere. Elena exhaled sharply. This is a phase, she said. A distraction. One I will end if it becomes serious. Claire swallowed hard. It already is. And somehow saying it aloud made everything feel real. Because now her mother knew. Now the truth couldn't be hidden. And Claire? She wasn't afraid anymore. Because she had chosen love. Even if it meant choosing something her mother would never understand. Daniel sat alone in the garage that night, tool in hand but not working. His mind was full of Claire. Her smile. Her honesty. The way she looked at him like he mattered. He hadn't expected this. Hadn't wanted to feel something again. Not after Maya. Not after the loss that still lived in his chest. One evening, while fixing a broken engine, Claire arrived quietly. She stood beside him, not dressed in designer heels or silk dresses. Just jeans, a soft sweater, and eyes full of questions. You okay? She asked gently. Daniel gave a small nod. I don't want you to think I'm someone I'm not. Claire tilted her head. Then tell me who you are. Daniel hesitated. Then he whispered, I used to be a husband. A man who promised to love one woman forever. But life took her from me. Claire's heart softened. She must have been special. Daniel met her eyes. She was, he said. And sometimes, he swallowed hard. Sometimes I feel like loving again is betrayal. Claire stepped closer. It's not, she said gently. It's healing. Daniel let out a shaky breath. I didn't plan this, he admitted. To feel anything again. Claire reached for his hand. I didn't either, she whispered. But now we both are. Daniel studied her face. Then he said, You could have anyone. But you keep coming back here. To me. Claire gave a warm smile. That's because you raised yourself with her memory, she said. And now, You're raising your daughter with love. That makes you more than enough. Daniel blinked back sudden tears. Then he whispered, "What if I can't give you what you deserve?" Claire leaned into him. "You already did," she said. "You showed me what real life feels like. Without pressure. Without masks." Daniel closed his eyes briefly. Then he whispered, "I want to believe that's true." Claire squeezed his fingers. "You should. Because somehow, this wasn't just about class divide anymore. It was about two people learning how to live again. After loss, after silence, after years of pretending they were fine. And now they had each other. And that felt like something worth holding on to, even if the world tried to pull them apart. Daniel finally brought Claire home. Not for grand introductions. Not for declarations of love. Just to sit. To share dinner. To meet Luna, the only person who truly mattered in his world. At first, Luna was shy. She watched from the couch as Daniel set the table. Claire smiled gently. "Hi," she said softly. "I'm Claire." Luna hesitated, then whispered, "You're the lady from the store." Claire gave a small nod. "I am," she admitted. "But I'm also just me." Daniel stepped beside her. "She's a friend," he added carefully. Luna studied Claire's face. Then she asked, "Do you like my dad?" Claire blinked. Daniel stiffened slightly, but Claire gave a warm smile. "I do," she said gently. "He's kind. He listens. And he makes me feel safe." Luna tilted her head. "You don't talk like other grown-ups." Claire raised an eyebrow. "What do you mean?" Luna thought for a moment. "They always say things they don't mean," she said. "But you look at him like you really care." Daniel looked at Claire, heart pounding. Because somehow, his daughter had seen what he hadn't dared to say out loud. And now there was no hiding it. Claire cared. Deeply. Over the next few weeks, Claire became part of their world. She helped with homework, taught Luna how to make cookies, even sat on the floor and played dolls when Daniel was busy. One evening, after dinner, Luna tugged on Claire's sleeve. "Can I call you Mom?" she asked quietly. Claire froze. Daniel looked up sharply. "Luna." But Claire reached down and gently touched Luna's cheek. "If that feels right to you," she said softly. "Then yes." Luna beamed. And in that moment, something changed. Not in grand ways, but in small ones. Claire wasn't just visiting anymore. She was becoming part of their life, of their healing. The first photo appeared online without warning. A paparazzi snapped it outside the grocery store. Claire laughing beside Daniel, holding Luna's hand as they walked out together. The caption read, "Billionaire heiress Claire Whitmore spotted with mysterious man and child." It spread fast. By morning, Elena saw it. And she knew. She called Claire immediately. Claire answered on the second ring. "Is this true?" her mother asked, voice sharp. "You're with him." Claire swallowed hard. "I am," she admitted. "And I'm not ashamed." Elena let out a slow, frustrated breath. "This is embarrassing," she muttered. "A mechanic. A single father. You could have anyone in our world." Claire met her mother's eyes through the phone. "He gives me something you never did," she whispered. Elena raised an eyebrow. "What is that?" Claire took a deep breath. "Peace," she said. "Truth. And a life that feels like mine." There was silence. Then Elena spoke again, not with anger, but with quiet disappointment. "If this continues," she warned, "I'll cut you off." Claire blinked back tears. Then she whispered, "That's okay," because somehow, she already knew what she would choose. Not money, not power, not the life built for her, but the one she had found. With Daniel, with Luna, with love that didn't care about status. Only truth and presence. Claire didn't hesitate. The next morning, she packed her suitcase, not just with clothes, but with courage. She walked into her mother's office without knocking. Elena looked up from her desk, eyes cold, voice colder. "I gave you a choice," she said. Claire met her gaze. "And I made it." Elena stood slowly. "You're choosing him?" Claire nodded. "Yes," she whispered. Because he sees me. Because he lets me breathe. Because for the first time in my life. She swallowed hard. I feel like I belong somewhere. Elena studied her daughter carefully. Then she said, "You'll lose everything." Claire gave a small smile. "I already did," she admitted. "But I found something better." Elena exhaled sharply. "This is foolish," she muttered. "He has nothing to give you." Claire stepped forward. "He gives me love," she said firmly. "That's more than your world ever did." Silence stretched between them. Then Elena whispered, "You don't know what real life is." Claire tilted her head. "I'm about to find out." And with that, she turned and walked away, not just from her mother, but from the life she had never chosen. Back home, Daniel waited. He watched as Claire arrived, suitcase in hand, heart full of something quiet but powerful. "You sure?" he asked gently. Claire looked at him. "I've never been surer of anything." Daniel hesitated. "You don't have to do this," he said. "You could stay in your world." Claire smiled faintly. "I was never really living there," she admitted. "I only existed." "Now." She reached for his hand. "I'm finally breathing." Daniel squeezed her fingers. "I don't want to take you from your family." Claire shook her head. "They took themselves from me," she said. "My mother doesn't see me. She only sees power. She only sees expectation." Daniel looked down. Then he whispered, "I can't give you what she did." Claire leaned into him. "I don't want that," she said. "I want this. A simple home. A child who calls me Mom. A man who shows me love without needing anything in return." Daniel blinked back sudden tears. Then he whispered, "You're giving up everything." Claire met his eyes. "I'm gaining something real." And somehow that changed everything. Because now, she wasn't just falling for him. She was choosing him. Fully. Completely. Without regret. And that made all the difference. Claire moved into a small apartment. Not the mansion she had grown up in, but something new. Something hers. She and Daniel didn't rush into anything. They took their time. Built trust. Built love. One evening, as they sat on the couch with Luna asleep between them, Claire whispered, "I never thought I'd be here." Daniel looked at her carefully. "Where?" Claire smiled faintly. "In a home," she said. "With you. And her." Daniel studied her face. Then he met her eyes. "You're not just staying," he said gently. "You're becoming part of us." Claire leaned into him. "I want that," she admitted. "To be more than just someone passing through." Daniel reached for her hand. "You already are." And somehow those words meant more than any ring ever could. Because now, Claire wasn't just loving Daniel. She was learning how to be part of his life, of his world, of his family. The next few weeks were full of small moments. Claire learned how to cook simple meals. She helped Luna with homework. She even joined Daniel in fixing cars, not because she knew how, but because she wanted to learn. One afternoon, while helping him clean tools, she asked softly, "Do you think we're doing this right?" Daniel raised an eyebrow. "This?" Claire tilted her head. "Us," she said. "A billionaire's daughter and a single dad. It feels like a fairy tale." Daniel chuckled. "But without the castle." Claire gave a warm smile. "That's the best part," she said. "No expectations. No pressure. Just us." Daniel nodded slowly. "That's what makes it real." And it did. Because now they weren't two people from different worlds trying to fit. They were just a man and a woman building something together. Piece by piece. Heartbeat by heartbeat. Love by love. Months passed. Claire had given up everything, the mansion, the wealth, her mother's approval. But she never felt emptier. Not in sadness. In freedom. One morning, as she made breakfast with Luna beside her, Daniel watched quietly from the doorway. She laughed when Luna spilled flour on the counter. She wiped it gently and whispered, "It's okay. We'll learn." Daniel felt warmth spread through his chest. Because this wasn't just love. This was family. And somehow, she fit perfectly. Elena arrived without warning. She stood at the door, dressed in a tailored suit. Eyes sharp, but not angry. Claire opened it slowly. "You came," she said quietly. Elena stepped inside. She looked around, not with judgment, with understanding. Then she turned to Claire. "You gave up everything." Claire met her gaze. "I found something better." Elena studied her daughter carefully. "You look different," she admitted. "Like you're finally real." Claire gave a small smile. "I am," she whispered. "I'm not just your legacy. I'm someone's wife. Someone's mom." Elena looked toward the kitchen, where Luna sat beside Claire, giggling as they mixed batter. Then she whispered, "You chose this?" Claire nodded. "Yes," she said, "and I'd choose it again." Elena let out a slow breath. Then she whispered, "I wanted you to have power." Claire reached for her hand. "I already do," she said, "in ways you don't understand." Elena looked at her, really looked. Then she whispered, "He treats you well?" Claire smiled faintly. "He sees me," she said. "He listens. He lets me be." Elena stayed quiet. Then she added, "And your world?" Claire blinked back tears. "I left it behind," she said. "But now," she looked at Daniel, "I feel like I've found mine." And somehow that changed everything. Because now even Elena understood that true wealth doesn't come from money. It comes from peace, from love, from home. And Claire? She had all of it. Even without gold. Even without status. Just with presence. With choice. With faith in what she had built. This story proves that love doesn't follow rules. It doesn't care about status, or wealth, or what the world expects. Claire gave up a mansion to find home. Daniel learned to love again without forgetting his past. And Luna? She reminded them both what family truly means. Not money, not power, but presence, care, and the courage to choose who you are, not what you're supposed to be.